Okay, looking at question 2, which was read the contents of a serial file, printing out each item. Um, so let's have a look at the pseudocode version of this first. Now the crucial thing whenever we're doing file work is opening files and saying what mode we're going to open them in. Are we reading from the file or are we writing to the file? In general, you can't do both. Okay, again, it depends on what environment and libraries you're using, but we generally either read from a file or write to a file. And the last thing you'll always do when you mess with files is you'll close those files as well. Okay, so if we just want to take every single item out of a file, we in pseudocode normally do this with a while loop. Okay, so we have a condition that says, right, well, while we're not at the end of the file, which is what EOS stands for, end of file, then do these statements here, which is read something in and then output it, display it, print it. And then we have the end of the loop which says, right, go back, check the condition, have we got to the end of the file? If not, read the next one in, output it. If we have got to the end of the file, close it. So we release the resources. Now if we look at it in Python, obviously we've got to be a bit more specific. Pseudocode is just an outline, remember. In Python we have to give it a file name, and we can use the open command function, okay, which is part of the standard library. Give it a file name, so I'm just made one up here, a text file, and give it a mode. So the little r in double quotes there means read mode, so we can read items in. Now in Python, to achieve the same thing, when we read something from a file, if we test it to see if it exists, that will tell us whether the file's closed. So in order for us to read lines from a file, we'll always have to attempt to make one read, which is slightly different to the pseudocode. So we've got a repeat until structure here. So we're saying, right, infinite loop, read something in and store it in item, check item. If item doesn't exist, which is what this check is doing, is saying if not item, so if it doesn't exist, there is no value that has been loaded, then come out of the loop straight away, and we will go on to this line here, which is at the same level as the while. Okay, so we'll say okay, then close the file. Otherwise, if we have got something, let's print it out, and then we'll go back round and we'll read again. Okay, so nice and simple.